Allen Iverson and Larry Brown's relationship on the Philadelphia 76ers was cyclical. They'd feud to a breaking point, win some games and plaster on a friendly smile, then feud to a new and different breaking point. And for 6 long seasons, they could not escape that cycle. Tuck a napkin into your shirt. This beef gets messy. Allen Iverson was chosen first overall by the Philadelphia 76ers in the '96 draft. Winning only 18 games the previous season, the Sixers needed a star to infuse life into the franchise. And Iverson was better than Philly could have imagined. The guy was perhaps the quickest in the league. He could duck and weave and elevate and cross up Michael Jordan. Yeah, he had critics. He was a shoot-first, pass-second point guard, but the Sixers didn't care. The GM said Iverson didn't need to pass. Hey, if he can get open and finish, why not? Well, there was one small problem. The Sixers only won 22 games all season, so something had to change. Time for a new coach and GM. The Sixers went with Larry Brown for 2 roles, head coach and director of basketball operations. Iverson wasn't thrilled. While we know Brown is a Hall of Fame coach, back in 1997 he was ringless and had a reputation as a bit of a vagabond. He coached 8 teams over 25 years, 2 of which he left mid-season in a was he fired or did he quit kind of way. He had a track record of getting a little emotional with his players. He kicked a kid off the UCLA team for an attitude problem. And with the Nuggets, he tried to take back a trade when new acquisition George McGinnis wouldn't play his way, which Brown refers to as simply the right way, implying all other ways are wrong. Brown's the right way consisted of team basketball with a focus on defense, self-sacrifice, and passing. Huh, that's different. Brown was aware of the dichotomy between Allen's rookie year and what he wanted, but who knew how it'd play out? Badly right away. Brown spent all of training camp trying to get Iverson to pass more. Iverson was irritated and expressed that during a shoot-around before an exhibition game. Every time the trainer passed him the ball, Iverson wouldn't shoot. Instead, he'd wildly and blindly pass the ball at his teammates while yelling, "I'm Muggsy Bogues! I'm Muggsy Bogues!" Funny? Yes, absolutely. A good way to let off steam? Yeah, I bet it was satisfying. A good way to get your coach to understand your point of view? Maybe not. Another problem the coach and star soon discovered: they had opposite attitudes toward practice. Iverson was often late or skipped altogether, whereas Brown loved practice and set his clocks 20 minutes early to ensure he'd never be late to anything. When AI did go to practice, he'd do stuff like, during team push-ups, he'd flop around like he was swimming in place to get a laugh. Whereas Brown spent practices focusing on every detail. He'd stop a play to move a guy a few inches. So, different. With the team doing poorly, Brown soon began what would quickly become a tradition for him and Allen: fighting through press clippings. He stirred rumors that he might trade Iverson. Iverson, last year's Rookie of the Year, the guy Philadelphia had been so glad to get. Brown also criticized Iverson for not playing, Hank Hill voice, the right way. This quote was after a bad loss to Houston, in which Allen shot a lot, 3 for 14, and passed a little, no assists in the second half. In March, after another big loss, Brown and Iverson engaged in a multi-day back and forth, which was basically Brown saying Iverson should play his way, and Iverson vaguely threatening to leave Philly. It was hard to see how they could go forward. Oh, never mind. 3 days later, Allen played well, and that's all it took to settle down the beef. The Sixers finished the year 31-51, not great, but an improvement. And best of all, Brown and Iverson were cruising along Friendship Boulevard with the wind in their hair. The following season, Brown even shifted Iverson to the 2, where he could be a shoot-first shooting guard. Perfect. It worked for both team and player. That's right, a winning record for the old black and gold. Put the pedal to the metal, there's no speed limit on Friendship Boulevard. There are some sharp curves, though. A week after praising Allen, Brown was back to condemning him for selfish play. What happened? Well, the Sixers lost 3 in a row, and also Iverson skipped a practice. Instead of telling the team himself, he had his bodyguard call in his absence, which further pissed Brown off. Their feud made its way onto the court in April. Losing at home to the Cavs, Allen went 0 for 7 from the field in the first quarter, and Brown benched him. After a few minutes, he called for Iverson to go back in. As AI walked to the scorer's table, he said, "It's about fucking time," which is really not the best way to say you agree with someone's decision. Brown sent Iverson back to the bench. Iverson was so mad he nearly left at halftime, but teammates were able to talk him down to simply refusing to play in the second half and blaming it on injury. Oof, how are they ever going to repair this relationship? Oh, success. Philly finished 6th in the East, Iverson won the scoring title, and the adversaries claimed peace. It wouldn't stick. The 2000 season saw early losses and reheated beef. It's gotta be getting pretty dried out at this point, no? When Brown benched Iverson for nearly an entire half during a blowout loss to Detroit, it was the final straw for Iverson. He wanted out of Philly. That reaction was the final straw for Brown. He wanted Iverson gone. Hard to see how a winning streak would be enough to fix things this time. President Pat Croce agreed with me and stepped in. He called a meeting between the unhappy duo. It was hostile, but Croce was able to get both guys to see the big issue was respect. They both wanted it, and they both weren't giving it. After a few hours, they said, "All right, we can play together." Another makeup, but this one was built on substance and mediation, not just a win or two. Though probably helped they immediately got a win, a thrilling 1-point overtime victory over Detroit. Allen had 32 points and tossed 7 assists, and the final shot for the win, Iverson passed it and let someone else be the hero. Talk about unselfish, just like Brown likes. I think these two are gonna be okay. 2 months later, Brown held a couple team meetings all about sacrifice, dedication, and putting the team first. Great, no problem there. The team traveled to Miami to play the Heat. Good, that's fine. Allen stayed out late partying and then called in sick to the shoot-around. There it is. Brown couldn't handle Iverson ditching right after meetings about putting the team first. Management suspended Iverson. That didn't go over well with Iverson. What the hell, he called in sick. Was he being suspended for being sick? And the suspension certainly didn't make him contrite. The two remained at odds throughout the postseason. Brown drew up plays that Iverson ignored. Out in the second round, Brown said Iverson should play the right blah blah blah, you know his line. In the offseason, Brown considered leaving to coach UNC. AI gave him a little push in the direction of the door. But Brown ultimately turned down his alma mater, perhaps because it'd be a rather large salary hit. He'd stay in Philly, but Iverson wouldn't. Brown crafted a 6-team, 24-player trade that would send Iverson to Detroit. With it looking like a done deal, Croce called Iverson to break the news. Iverson begged to stay and promised to change. He didn't go so far as to say he could travel to Miami without partying, but he implied it. Unfortunately, it was too late. There was nothing Iverson or Croce could do. There was, however, something Sixers center Matt Geiger could do. He was part of the trade, supposed to go to Detroit with Iverson, but he wouldn't waive his no-trade clause. So the whole deal was canceled, dooming Brown and Iverson to another season together. Brown spent the rest of the summer complaining about Iverson. It was getting old. He was an assistant coach on the Olympic team, still talking about practice attendance? It made people wonder, was he being mean to get Iverson to demand a trade? If so, it wasn't going to work. Iverson didn't want to be traded, and he stayed true to what he told Croce on the phone. He became a model player. And listening to Brown paid off. With the best record in the league, Larry Brown and Allen Iverson were perched atop Friendship Cliff, peering over the edge, saying, "Wow, we're high up." A bad mid-December loss to Dallas sent them careening down the mountain. After the game, Brown laid into his team, and Iverson pushed back. They had the best record in the league, come on. The next morning, at a team breakfast, Allen picked the argument right back up. Fun having Iverson at every practice and team event, huh? Brown expected other players to come to his defense, but nobody did. Not even when Iverson told Brown he was whining all the time like a little bitch. Brown took it hard. He didn't show at practice the next day. His wife called in to say he was too emotional to attend. Wow, a little ironic having someone else call in with an excuse, just like Iverson did. Maybe we see things from someone else's perspective. Not now, Clara. This was serious. Brown was ready to quit. But perhaps he realized that if he walked away from the league's best team in the middle of the season, it'd wreck his career. The whole vagabond label would stick. So he came back, and the enemies made up, because winning tends to improve one's mood. Maybe they'd stay pals this time. Don't call me naive, call me hopeful. And pretty. Brown and Iverson were teamed up for the All-Star game, and Iverson won MVP. Upon accepting his trophy, there was someone he wanted to share it with.
Where's my coach? Coach Brown.
Philadelphia finished first in the East. Brown won Coach of the Year, Iverson won MVP, and Brown was nice in the press. Okay, playoffs, Game 1, Round 1. The Pacers stifle Iverson. But Game 2, he's back, baby. How'd he do it? Brown drew up some new plays to help him out, and they went over them at, that's right, practice. Philly made it all the way to the finals, where the underdogs stole a game. Iverson and Brown were sailing the SS Friendship, a boat built on winning and success and a finals berth. Surely nothing could sink it. Not Iverson purposely delaying surgery so he'd miss training camp the following season. That was just something for Brown to joke about. Splish splash, toot toot, it's all laughs aboard SS Friendship. But losses upon losses started boring holes in the bottom of the boat, and apparently Iverson was shoveling water aboard. He wasn't coming to practice anymore. If he did, he came late, smelling of alcohol. By mid-December, Brown was back in the press with his old refrain. Iverson hit him back. 2 days later, when AI was late to a shoot-around, Brown kicked him out. They took that energy to the playoffs and lost Game 1. Iverson struggled. But hey, last year when Iverson struggled in the opening round, they worked together at practice and fixed everything. How'd practice before Game 2 go this year? Iverson didn't show. He did. But he just ran up and down the court a few times? Did it help? No. And we get another back and forth in the press. The Celtics eliminated the Sixers in a Game 5 blowout, taking down the reigning Eastern Conference champs 120-87. Humiliating for all involved. I bet even the Celtics were a little embarrassed. Iverson skipped his exit interview with his head coach, so Brown complained about his practice attendance and said Iverson could be traded. Brown and Iverson had another meeting, who knew the power of meetings, which again ended in a truce. Iverson wasn't going to be traded. The organization called a press conference for AI to announce that fact, and then quickly step away from the mic without saying anything else, and certainly not slipping into a 30-minute stream of consciousness that even a Sixers PR rep was powerless to stop. It did not go according to plan.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. Listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice. Not the game. We're talking about practice, man. How silly is that, man? We're talking about practice.
This press conference is the most famous press conference in sports, and it's what Allen is most known for. Not his 2001 finals performance, not his MVP award, but rather talking about practice in the media, a conversation Brown started and perpetuated. The 2003 season saw familiar drama from the start to the bitter end. Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semis, with elimination on the line, AI showed up just 32 minutes before tip-off. He blamed traffic, and later switched his excuse to a flat tire. Philly lost, the season ended. This time, Brown didn't go off in the press, didn't even seem annoyed. Did he forgive Allen, or was he just tired of fighting? Turns out, the latter. After the 2003 season, Brown quit, and immediately won a championship with Detroit. Good for him. Iverson had less fun, burning through a few coaches in Philly, eventually getting traded and traded again, missing practices and refusing to come off the bench until no team wanted him. Many years later, Brown partially blamed himself for Iverson's career petering out.
When I look at Allen's career and realize I think he only played 12 years, I think of what he could have done if I had done a better job in making him understand the gift he had and the responsibility he had.
And at the time, he tried to help, lobbying different teams to take Iverson, but to no avail. With hindsight, Brown was able to look back and see his relationship with Iverson differently. Coaching Iverson was his calling. If only he'd understood that at the time. Hindsight helped Iverson reevaluate the relationship as well. When he was named to the Hall of Fame in 2016, Iverson said he wished he could have accepted what Brown had been trying to tell him all those years in Philadelphia. And he too evoked a higher power to describe what could have been. They both wanted the same thing, success for their team, for Iverson to dominate the league for years and years and years. But beef got in the way of their shared goal, often making them forget they had a shared goal altogether. We call that beef poisoning. And it's just nice they both managed to recover. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you liked this video, and I sincerely hope you did, just for my own self-esteem, here are a couple more videos you might like. Don't forget to subscribe, and till next time, for Secret Base, I'm Clara Morris. Good night and good game.